This is the Patriots way. There is no player bigger than the system, but when you look at this specific situation, is it possible that the Patriots way was their downfall here?
Well, I would think so. I wouldn't go through the hypothetical of if Malcolm Butler plays, these Patriots win this Super Bowl. But obviously, I believe that the Patriots would have had a much better chance of winning the Super Bowl with Malcolm Butler on the field rather than him being off the field. When you look at it, it still doesn't make any sense, even with the report of, okay, he didn't have a great week of practice. Yes, he was a little ill. I will still take ill Malcolm Butler over Eric Rowe, who, again, did as well as he can, but he's still Eric Rowe. He's not Super Bowl hero Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler told our Albert Breer that he had a crummy season, if you will. But I still believe that he was going to be able to bounce back in the Super Bowl. As far as the minor rules violation related to a curfew, look, I'm there at the stadium, and I'm saying, all right, he's not playing the first series, had to break curfew. He's not coming out the second series. Well, then maybe he's going to have to sit the whole first half. But what I continued hearing from a lot of scribes and media type after the game was, well, they would have used him if they needed him. Well, they did need him. Nick Foles passed for 373 yards against this Patriots defense. This game was combined for the least amount of defense in NFL history. They needed Malcolm Butler. He was there. He was active. If you're going to make a point like Bill Belichick made, then just deactivate him. But to have him active and not play, I think was stubborn. I think it was hard-headed. I think that Bill Belichick got in his own Patriot way.
You mentioned that 373 yards of offense that this team gave up, the most they've given up since week 6 without Malcolm Butler. But Jonathan, you mentioned that he absolutely should have played. Do you think that in hindsight, though, because of this loss, because of what we saw, do you think that we're making too big a deal of this? Do you think Malcolm Butler legitimately turns this game around? Because they also lost a guy like Brandon Cook. So are we just focusing on the one thing because it's so bizarre?
In a sense, absolutely. And then it also does take away from the incredible Eagles performance, right? And the game that Doug Peterson called, how surgical Nick Foles was, how that defense was able to make a play on Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback ever, the greatest Super Bowl quarterback ever, when they needed to. That totally takes away from the magic that the Philadelphia Eagles were able to create. All that said, though, you do have to believe that Malcolm Butler out there on the field would be able to make some plays on the football, that some of these passes that were completed against Eric Rowe wouldn't happen against Malcolm Butler, that maybe the Eagles wouldn't pass for 130 yards on third down alone during the game. And so it is important to focus on what could have been there. But to an earlier point, would the game have ultimately been different had Malcolm Butler been on the field? I'm not entirely sure, but I do fully believe that he gives them a better chance to win than Eric Rowe.